AI is changing the game for creators by making it easier than ever to get your content heard, watched, and shared across the globe. A few years ago, you would have needed translators, editors, and a huge team to adapt a single episode for different platforms. Now you can take one long recording and turn it into dozens of bite-sized, platform-ready pieces that actually perform well. It is honestly pretty wild when you stop and think about how much the production landscape has evolved. Welcome to another episode of Creator Tools Unpacked, where we talk about the intersection of productivity and creative freedom. Today we are talking about smart repurposing and how to turn hours of footage into viral gold without losing your mind. You have probably heard about AI for voice translation or lip syncing. That frontier is moving incredibly fast right now. But beyond translation, the real struggle for most creators is turning long podcasts or live streams into content that grabs attention. That is exactly where tools like Vizard come in to solve the problem of manual labor and endless editing. Once you actually see the results, you start realizing there are use cases for this everywhere you look. If you are already familiar with voice cloning and translation tech, that is great because it is huge for accessibility. Localization lets creators reach massive global audiences without having to hire an army of professional voice actors. However, translation tech solves a different problem than what the average creator struggles with on a daily basis. While translation gets your voice into a new language, repurposing tools get your content into the right format for every social platform. We all know the scenario. Creators spend hours on a webinar or podcast, post it, and then get zero engagement. Or they spend even more time manually chopping clips, adding captions, and reformatting, which is exhausting. Vizard is built specifically to replace that manual grind by auto-editing long videos into shorter, punchy clips. It even helps you schedule and publish them, acting like a fast lane for your content strategy. Let us break down the three big parts that make this useful without sounding like a boring sales pitch. First, the auto-editing feature scans your long recordings to find highlights like punchlines or high-energy segments. It outputs clips that are ready to post, which saves you immense time while keeping momentum in front of your audience. Second, the auto-schedule feature means you do not have to be logged in to queue your posts manually. You just set a simple cadence, like 3 clips per week, and the AI handles the posting for you. Consistency is honestly more important than you think for algorithmic visibility across all these platforms. Third, the content calendar becomes your single hub to oversee, tweak, and approve clips before they go live. This eliminates the need for copy-pasting or juggling 5 different dashboards and prevents publishing mistakes. Many creators still use human editors or disjointed tools for subtitles, clips, and posting, which gets very fragmented. Tools that specialize in voice cloning are great, but they are focused on localization rather than social distribution. They are complementary tools, but they are not really competitive when your main goal is building a library of shorts. I had a friend who struggled to grow their TikTok following until they started using an auto-edit tool for their interviews. Suddenly, they had multiple TikToks per week, tailored for the platform, and their subscriptions started ticking upward. They did not have to spend extra hours learning complex editing software or fighting with aspect ratios. It acted as a massive multiplier on the hard work they were already putting into their content creation. Another great case is an educator who used these tools to break down long lectures into bite-sized micro-lessons. These clips served as perfect promotions that drove people straight to their full online courses. It is a low-friction way to turn one single asset into a funnel for discovery and lead generation. If you hire professionals to edit and caption every episode, you could easily spend hundreds of dollars per video. Translation-specialized apps also charge per minute, and the cost can really stack up if you use multiple services. Vizard's workflow is usually positioned as a time saver that offsets the heavy costs of human labor. The return on investment here isn't just financial, it is about getting your creative bandwidth back. Of course, nothing is perfect, and auto-editing tools can sometimes misidentify context or cut a joke a bit too early. The AI might also struggle with heavy accents or audio from multiple different people at the same time. This is exactly where that content calendar and human approval flow becomes so important. The goal is to reduce a 2-hour editing nightmare into a quick 15-minute review session. There is also the ethical side, because tech that manipulates video and audio raises some real questions. Voice cloning and deepfakes are part of the conversation, so transparency and consent are non-negotiable. If you use a guest clip or edit someone's words, always make sure you are keeping audience trust intact. There is also an interesting tension between fragmentation and consolidation in this industry. Even if big platforms start baking these features in, there will always be room for specialized workflows. Creators who value cross-platform control and centralized management will always prefer dedicated tools. If you are curious about trying this, pick a single long-form asset like a podcast or webinar to start. Run it through the auto editor and do not be offended if the first draft is not completely perfect. Use the approval tools to shape the top 10 clips and then set a simple publishing cadence. Track which clips drive the most traffic back to your site and watch the performance carefully. If you have a multilingual audience, consider pairing your editing tools with translation tech for maximum impact. Repurposing combined with localization is a very powerful stack for anyone trying to grow. We are at a point where creators can scale their content without scaling their costs in a linear way. One long recording can easily become the backbone of a whole month's worth of social media activity. These tools are meant to be the behind-the-scenes engine that turns your hard work into consistent output. It makes it entirely possible to be everywhere at once without burning yourself out in the process. If you are listening and want a practical next step, pick one episode you are proud of and start there. Compare the results of an automated week versus a week where you post nothing or post manually. The difference in your reach and your engagement will probably surprise you. We will keep tracking new features, like when translation becomes more tightly integrated with editing workflows. That is where things get really interesting for creators who want a global presence, without the extra headcount. All right, that is enough from me for now, but Izabela is here too if you have any questions. Tell us which tools worked for you and what problems you ran into along the way. Drop a comment below with what kind of content you are trying to repurpose and which platforms you care about. Thanks for sticking with us through this breakdown, and keep creating your best work. Don't be afraid to let the tools handle the boring stuff so you can focus on the good stuff.